So my name is Junod Etienne, and I want to share an idea that I feel is really important to me. And I also want to invite you to participate with me in a little experiment. So one of the things that I really like to do for myself is to look at figures from history that I feel like I have a lot to learn from, mentally and emotionally, just people who really inspire me. And one of these people is an ancient philosopher. Actually, he wouldn't call himself a philosopher if you asked him, because he was quite humble. And also he had a day job that he couldn't quit. He was the emperor of Rome. His name was Marcus Aurelius, and he's a very interesting character because unlike most of the people who were emperors at the time, he didn't want to be king. He didn't want to lead anybody. He had been sort of pushed into the role when the present emperor saw him and felt that he had some kind of qualities, and he resisted it and even invited his brother to rule with him for the first 8 years. So he was a very different type of character, very humble, but that's not what I thought was most compelling about him. What I felt was really interesting is that after having lived this lifetime of being the most busy and the most powerful man in the world at the time, he left behind a book that he wrote that showed kind of what he was really up to the whole time. And this book was something that he had worked on privately, and it was only for himself. He wrote it to himself. And it was, we know it as the Meditations, but it was a book that was intended to show him daily, to induce him daily to practice the highest principles that he could envision. And so he wrote this book. I actually want to share, I wrote down a quote from it. When men hate or blame you or say hurtful things about you, look deeply into their hearts and see what kind of men they are. You'll see how unnecessary it is to strain after their good opinion. Yet you must think kindly of them. They are your neighbors. The gods help them as they do you, by dreams, oracles, to win their heart's desires. So here he was, the most powerful man in the world. He could have anything that he wanted. And he's reminding himself, look, when people hurt you, you have to process it this way. You have to understand them. You have to even be kind to them. And so as you read through this book that he wrote, and you see his warnings to himself, his admonishments, and his advice that he's giving himself daily, please, please, make the mark here, adhere to your own values. You're seeing that he lived his life in a way that's very different from the people outside of him, that he took his life as a project. He was trying to live these principles in such a way that he didn't conceive of himself as king. If you asked him who he wasn't the king. He wasn't a dad. He wasn't a husband. Well, he was all those things, but primarily, he was a being trying to stay true to his nature. And the reason why I even want to share about him is because he was the quintessential example of what I want to talk about and explore today, which is being the project. So what is that? So we've been talking a lot about projects today, and the act of being part of a project is a very active one. You are conceptualizing it. You're giving birth to it. You are looking at the scope, the time, seeing if it's moving forward, and seeing what you have to do. But all the while, your awareness is pointed outside. You're looking outside of you. When you're being the project, you're looking within. What's happening with me? What am I feeling? Where am I? Who am I right now? And so it's possible, to mix the two. It's possible to do an outside project and also be the project that you're working on. And it's actually a very powerful way to approach a project. You get insights that maybe you didn't get before. And so what I want to do is I want to ask you to engage with me and make this room into a project for a moment. And let's see if we can bring a different energy, a different tone to this room. So I'm going to ask all of you to please stand up, if you will. Don't worry, this will be short and it won't hurt much. So I just want you to stand with your arms at your sides and begin to notice the feeling in your body, where you have tension, where you don't have tension. Put your attention in your breathing. Follow your breath through the body. Your breath has a certain sensation that it makes, perhaps, in your body. Follow that, see where it goes. And you can do this with your eyes open or closed. And just tune into that rhythm of breathing. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to do anything different. But just really notice it. And keep the light of your attention shining on your breath. Say to yourself, I am here now. I am here right now, and feel what reverberations that has in you. Stay with your breath. Now I want you to shift your attention to the soles of your feet, both feet. It's sometimes tough to concentrate, but try to concentrate continuously on the soles of your feet right now. Feel them. Feet. 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 Now shift your attention to your knees. You can do this. This is your attention. Nobody can control this but you. Put your attention on both knees and keep them there. Keep a steady stream of attention. No matter where your mind wants to go, keep bringing it back to your knees. That's right, knees. 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 See if you feel something different there. Now I want you to take your right hand and just slowly put it on your heart. First, see if you can feel the beating of your heart in the room. Just see if you can feel that with your hand. Connect with the feeling of the beating in your heart. And continue to feel, now shifting your attention completely to your heart. Feel any sensations, any feelings that are there. Stay there and breathe. Breathe into your heart and feel present with your heart. For a moment, just listen. It's okay to get distracted for a second. Just bring yourself back to your heart. And enjoy, just for this last minute, just enjoy the feeling of continuously feeling your heart. Okay. Congratulations. So, at this point, you may feel your heart a little bit differently than you did when I first started talking. And if you do, that is wonderful. And if you don't, you may want to focus on a couple of different questions. Well, how do you feel? Do you feel anything different at all? Did anything change? See, most of us, we approach life as a project, but as a project that's facing outward. We want to fix, get our homes looking a certain way. We want to work with our careers. We want to raise a family. We want to maybe just survive. And all these things are projects. But it's also possible to, while you're doing that, to have a focus that's within. And that's so important because there's very few people who live in such a way that they're changing, that they work to deliberately change the way they feel and think during the course of their lifetime. And Marcus Aurelius was one of them. And I feel one of the things that he shows me is that there is an inner world that we all have, and it's made of our feelings and our thoughts, and that the ability to transform them, well, in order to do that, we have to be there. We have to be willing to be in our bodies, to listen to our hearts. One of the reasons why I'm interested in all of these things is because I'm a member of the Institute for Hermetic Philosophy. It's a worldwide organization, and one of the best ways to describe it is it's an academy of awareness, a place where we go to have a deeper, a more clear experience of ourselves. And it was founded by the Chilean philosopher and author Dario Salas Sommer. He founded in the 60s because he felt like there was a problem with the consciousness on this planet. And one of his, I'll paraphrase a quote from him. He says that we see crimes against people, crimes against humanity, famine, crimes against nature, and all sorts of problems in the world. However, he says, there's only one real problem with this world, and that is the low level of consciousness of the people within it. And he seems to be saying that if we change that one thing, everything sort of would then change. And that is an individual work for each one of us to look at and to take up in our internal worlds, in our internal homes. Thank you.